gonna wait for people to tune in. I'm just gonna start talking because it's getting close to 7 here, and I want to get on with the evening routine soon. But I wanted to do this. Our dog uh, sometimes more in a forward laying position, sometimes laying on his back or his side, and I'm noticing that he's kind of a bit more the first, and um, kind of looking pretty awake, and he's been home alone a lot of the day, but we certainly visited with him a lot when we got home, and and yeah, he's looking mostly content. Chapstick if you're curious, chapstick if you're not, doing it on hand. Yeah, he's looking mostly content, and but just like us, just like people, dogs get used to some routine. Ah, it's sometimes okay to kind of um, to kind of go outside of that routine a little bit. And I want to talk a little bit more about today. I tried to have a nap when I got home. I don't think either of us in the home really were able to. Um, and um, I think it's because we had other things on our mind that we wanted to get to in the evening, and we're actually pretty on schedule for usual, even though we were out, and that. But we're for pretty much as usual. I have this on because yeah, nobody's here, so I won't. Well, maybe I will say it because it's early. I just I'm still kind of in bed mode and kind of chilly, even though we just checked the heat and it is on. So um, anywho, so yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about today, and maybe it will uh, uplift and inspire you as well in some way or another. I'm not scripted, but I try with my delivery to do those things sometimes, and other times I'm just chatting. So it's a bit of both. And I do welcome that. Like I say, I'm gonna try and keep this at 45 minutes, probably an hour. Nothing too long. Not likely going to be musical, but yeah, basically, and like I would have stayed. They were probably like, oh, I would have stayed if you were doing one of your 2 or 3 hour streams, but hardly worth it for an hour. Huh, it's more worth it than clicking a short, right? Anyway, so and I think the way that makes most sense, and we can chat as thoughts about what saying come up, and I think the way that makes most sense is to kind of talk in a bit of a sequential way. But yeah, that's what happened. I went to try and have a nap. I'm mostly past my golden flu, whatever. Um, I know they're a little bit different, but like my sinuses, my throat were mostly all right. Um, I felt actually fairly relaxed, even though what we were at, the first part of it was especially soothing and relaxing. The second, or the other part of it was, a bit more active but lovely. And then G had to go get X-rays, had to go get X-ray results and then get another X-ray apparently. And then there was a phone call, and there was some bad weather and transportation issues a little bit getting home. But we obviously made it and are thankful for that. Um, but basically, struggling to get the pillows perfect behind me. And I can be sometimes particular about how things feel behind my shoulders, um, which may or may not be a rare thing. No, I just peed, so I'm going to try and I think it's just, my, what do they call it? but I think there's another one, OAB as well. Yeah. Anyway, so basically, yeah. But I was trying to nap. I was, and again, we were both kind of ready. Like I say, pretty much the usual time to have gotten up, and it went really fast. Like I say, I think we started at a pretty well around our usual time. Another thing that I sort of want to say, I'm a little bit, well, I don't know. I'm a little bit worried I might forget to if I don't do it now. But that being said, I mean, the reminder is kind of the room I'm doing this in. But I just wanted to talk a moment about, there was somebody over there for a few seconds, about triggers. And I know it's that word. I know it's that word. And I always say that, first of all, a question to ask ourselves is, and I've maybe never not worded this in very many of my videos this way, but is there a way to look at a trigger you may have, and a lot of us have them, in a neutral sense, or even in a something you might be going through. I haven't had a coffee, but I did have that. I did have some before I left, and I had some there. And then I didn't have a lot of sugar, but I had some. Anyway, is there a way to do that? Also, uh, some of them are completely good. Some of them are harder. And yeah, I do think that some of them are neutral or could be looked at in a neutral way. But then also, and that can probably be helpful, and I probably could stand to do it more myself. But then also, um, we can also work through them. Uh, you know, uh, and I'm happy to, you know, I wouldn't want to hear about anything too traumatic, but you know, just kind of, you know, the thing is, I understand that these things don't always feel small, so I'm hesitant to say small ones. Um, but basically, um, I'm just kind of remembering how it's interesting, kind of the memories that how people hold memories and how they do it differently. I mean, other than digital, which is a large part of it, right? But you know, and uh, like for instance, the one I'm thinking of right now, I'm not really sure. I'm sure if I mentioned it, he might, but also there's another reason, I guess. Not to get hugely in depth on it, but G suffers from a health condition. Luckily, meds are helping, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't, right? It's about if you decide to be on them, not being on too many is personally my opinion, and finding what works and doing it gradually and if you find that something was working at a lower dose and then you try to up it and then there's some sort of problem, it might be better just to go down to the lower dose. I mean, I'm a huge advocate for holistic options in healing, and I said that to a nurse today, actually, at a agency which does some medical stuff. It wasn't really a hospital. It wasn't really a doctor's office. But anyway, but uh, has a health condition, and I will never forget that one time when before we realized that the ambulance fee was, I mean, a lot of healthcare and this and that is good in Canada, but the ambulance fees are crazy. Like we're not doing any, he wasn't doing anything dangerous. He just has a health condition. Um, you know, um, and and I mean, I think maybe some of it, that kind of thing, might be covered, but then I don't think you're on a benefit plan. And then also too, um, um, yeah. Anyway, basically though, I remember once when the EMS came and they were turning on our ceiling light, and he broke the string on it. Just he pulled too hard. I think I remember him being a little bit on the shorter side, so he may have kind of. I don't remember him jumping to pull it, but he may, and then maybe it was just when his whole body weight came down. It could have been that. That I mean, and it's interesting actually because when I think about that, which isn't super often, because like I say, his condition's been managing, and this and that. But what happens is when I turn this light on. But since it's dark outside now and night, um, the light. I mean, and that's not a very bright one. And even though I'd been, well, actually, they had for the first thing, they started with the lights off, and then before they actually started, they were going to try and do it half and half, and turn down one, and then turn down the other. It's like, yeah, okay, we're all fine with that. Okay, cool, kind of thing. Um, um, it was a window with frosted glass, and it wasn't exactly sunny out. It wasn't really supposed to be either, I don't think. But we all found it bright enough, so that was nice. And then the other room that we were in, two, but especially one, I've taken a class in there not long after I first discovered the place, and I was sitting right next to it, ironically. Um, and I don't know if it was just how many people were in a fairly small room because it was people were kind of in three different areas, four in a way today. So not everybody was in the area we were in today all at once, surprisingly. But basically, and I'm gonna try and make sure I don't go too long. But he can play piano. I said he can tinker with his new laptop. It's all good. Anyway, basically, the I remember like I haven't been in a classroom setting for a while. I hadn't even taken a workshop in very long in that recently at that point. Some since there or connected to that agency, but and I remember once I don't know what else I was going through. I mean, I think I was noticing some health things, and mostly that's improved. I still notice some things. I'm still going through some stuff, but basically, and I just remember feeling lightheaded in that room. And again, it may have been a connection of like, you know, 10 to 12 people in a fairly small room and the fluorescence. Um, because I know that when I went out to the foyer and sat down and then just simply built out in the foyer, much like it was interesting, the room we were in at first for a little more than an hour, um, they didn't seem to have the heat on. I don't know if it was supposed to just seem like the natural elements a little bit. I don't know. They didn't seem to have the heat on at first. I was mostly comfortable, like my hands and my feet and everything, um, and mostly had my hoodie on, which is a bit surprising to me because I sometimes get warm quickly inside. Um, but I think I had it briefly off. But anywho, basically, but yeah, I noticed that when we went back in there for an interesting component to the day, um, the heat was then on, and yeah, I got was getting warm much quicker. So I mean, today, you know, and I know some people will say, "Well, I'm glad that everything's so great for you." I'm not offended by that thought because I understand if you feel it, but I want you to also know, although things are um, usually, I would say for me and for our household, those in it, things are decent. Things are fairly good. Um, and we don't need everything. We don't need a mansion. We don't need $1 million. The latter, we might not argue with, and then we put it to good use. There's just no homeless people around. So I'll go on and I stay like say. Anyway, but um, what do you call it? The but I would say that there are some struggles that I have to kind of uh, work with or work to manage or experience most days, whether they're physical or thinking patterns and such. Um, but I do realize that it could be worse, and if you're someone who it might be worst for, I wish for healing for you and for things to get better. But yeah, so basically, I can't remember kind of what started that thought, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about so I almost didn't want to do this podcast in this room, but then I thought if anything was to happen to G, that would affect the whole home. It would really change the atmosphere of the whole home, as some people say, when somebody passes away, and especially I would say homes where there's just like two people, because I mean I'm not gonna say it's not the case otherwise, but when and everybody's different, types of personalities and this and that. Brains are also similar, but yet so different, right? Similar in look and similar in some ways, but yet also unique, right? But basically, when the even through grief, hectic life and holidays, whatever, and this and that, you know, a busy household will be a busy household, even if somebody passes away. But when it's just one or two, and it makes me think of a song I was noodling through the other day on live. Um, and I don't want to talk about this too much. I certainly don't. But it just kind of, I realized, so you know what? Do it in here because I'm comfortable in the bed, and, just, yeah. So, um, so I kind of want to go a little bit, like I say, sequential, for another 30 or 40 minutes. Um, I'm hesitant to unplug this device, but I just did. Like I was mentioning earlier, it drops fast, but the dog's lunging quite a bit now for the past 10 minutes. It drops fast, but since I've done a little bit now, you know, if it needs to be charged, because the other day when I was doing this and I tried to plug in the charger, I had to restart the video. It was being wonky. So I don't know if that's fixed or not, but I'm not going to worry about doing that. So, but we should be pretty good. We're at 100%, so we should be pretty good. So, um, yeah, I don't know if I want to say it's not that it's bad. Basically, like I say, it was about cultures and traditions, and it was, yeah, that's a good way to put it, I think. And so there was some kind of um, um, from the two that were especially leading it. Like when we got there, kind of how it happened. Like I wasn't really sure how it was going to happen, but there was somebody else greeting at the door. They had another table set up, which I later found out was for a raffle, um, as well. And I guess, and then she said that she thought the room was open. So, and we tried the door, and it was, and we put our stuff there, and then I can't remember exactly how that happened, but the lady who I was trying to connect with, her name kind of came up, and I said, no rush or anything, but yeah, I wouldn't mind talking to her before things start. And then I pretty much said, I mean, I could just be happy that happened, and I am, but just kind of sharing a little bit, like I said the other day, for the subscribers and friends that I've made on here who might, like to hear it, and like I said, perhaps anybody else too, that might get something from it or just enjoy listening to it. Anywho, like get some, like I say, uplifting, inspiring, thought provoking, whatever. Anywho, and yeah, I mean, I'm used to doing them on the cell phone. I mean, I used to do it on the laptop so much, so every now and then I kind of look, it's like my eyes look a little funny. But anywho, so basically, she said we just had to be careful because certain people. But I mean, on here, I mean, or on the line, we do the best we can. I think, in this circumstance, it was probably the best way to look at it. But as far as online, whether it's music, whether it's topic, I go back to, again, what I said about triggers. Less than 15 minutes ago, probably. Um, but also, I think in some ways one should be able to shrug it off. And I almost feel like I almost kind of said that. But anyway, I just said, yeah, I had thought about that. And so the one song uh, is pretty non denominational. And then we talked because there's an intro that we had forgotten about. And we thought maybe we should skip that. I mean, I had the guitar and I didn't know the flats, but also kind of the wording of it. But yeah, talking through the triggers, and I mean, we don't do them all at once, and it's a process in this and that. But you know, um, as some people say, staying stuck, avoidance does not necessarily work forever. If you want to get unstuck and work on healing, you actually have to put in some effort. Um, and sometimes more than we think we should need to, but it is, the case sometimes. Anywho, but no, so we just said, and the other one is, from this Disney movie, and it kind of fits with this, and and there was two of them there, and the other lady I didn't see at all after, you know, during the day after this point. It was kind of odd. I don't know if she also wasn't feeling well, but she thought she was going to stay longer or something happened. But anyway, they said, given the songs that you've mentioned, um, I think that would be fine. And then they kind of went back around to, but, because we had to be careful, blah, blah. So, started off the event, you know, and I knew it wouldn't be the first thing. I wasn't expecting it to be. But started off the event thinking, okay, great. We got the yes. That feels really good. I mean, mostly I'm just doing, performing on here lately because, don't drive, not into bars is the big reasons, like I mentioned sometimes. And honestly, sometimes here it's very quiet. Or at least when I'm doing the music. It sometimes makes me wonder if I'm meant to because it's like sometimes people are around while I'm chatting, and whether they chat or not, sometimes they're not around when I'm doing music. Kind of, sort of examples of that just the other day. The 3 hour one, I think it was the last 30, 40 minutes, was almost completely music. There was another one recently, I can't remember which one, was almost completely music, but it really is a mix. But anywho, so then we did the ceremony, and it was an open circle at one part, near the latter part, where people could kind of, share whatever was on their heart, essentially. And that I was kind of surprised how much tea we were able, but I knew this would come up. Yeah, and actually, the other one called while we were there, and I don't know if I think that was a local number, but I don't know who that other person was. That odd last name. Anyway, but yeah, so basically, I mean, I'll do this anonymously. I'm just going to kind of think my way around the circle that was there, and if anything stands out, and the only people that will know it, more specifically, would be the people that were there. Um, you know, there was somebody there for a few seconds here. Um, are you doing your fitness yet? Two doors are closed, but I didn't hear a response, so I guess so. I just don't hear it. Anyway, so basically, and that trigger that I was mentioning earlier, by the way, um, that's possibly one, chapstick if you're cheers, chapstick if you're not. I'm not necessarily getting a lot on when I'm putting it on here. Um, but that might be one that I'm looking for suggestions upon. I'm thinking that knowing that it's managed. Although I looked at him at one point today, and he had this look on his face, and he was kind of holding his body in a certain way. I got up because there was somebody that had left for a little while. I think they came back though, or somebody else came. And honestly, this may or may not mean anything because there's all kinds of couples and this and that. But the guy was Asian, and when he left, I think a little while after, an Asian woman took his place. And I can't remember if she had a key take on if she worked there or not. Um, there was quite a few staff people there actually, but there was also 4 or 5 people that weren't. Anywho, but so at one point I went over and said, "You okay?" We were trying not to talk too much, talk too loud, and there was no issues. That was good. And I was really surprised he wanted to try and sit on one of the cushions on the floor, considering his knee injury recently. He didn't think he should. He decided to try it, cross-legged, and this and that. He thought, this isn't bad. And I think he did about half and half. I think, as we did I think it was tobacco, I'm not sure. He got up and thought maybe a chair was best, but that somebody else that came in, so there wasn't one, and I was going to move over, but I had my coat and my scarf and that. There wasn't one right beside me, so there was 2 or 3 people in between us, but that's fine. But briefly we did, and we were there together, which was really nice. Some of the people that were there were some of the ones that have led some of the workshops that I've been going to, so that was interesting to um, and the one they sort of looked familiar, but honestly, I think it was one of the staff that was familiar to me. Um, I was kind of surprised. And apparently, the social connection group is not necessarily for 50 plus, but she didn't seem entirely sure. But I don't think I'm going to go with it. But anyway, so we'll get to that. Anyway, so yeah, basically, somebody said something about learning from people as opposed to a book. Um, I didn't fully process, other than something about Alzheimer's. I didn't fully process and I didn't really hear the other one very well. Um, the next two, they said some interesting stuff, kind of connected to the culture stuff and this and that, and related to each other. And I don't remember a lot of details, but like I said, I didn't exactly have a nap, so I'm still kind of tired from the day. But anywho, basically, and then I said something about how looking forward to all that this event is and can be, and I guess in that I was kind of referring to the opportunity to do the songs as well, and but I didn't say it that way, but I was kind of thinking that it can be that. I'm looking forward to that, and that it's okay for that, and it was very laid back actually. So was the previous one I'd been to. Anyway, and that I said I wish for healing for myself and others. That sometimes things aren't perfect, and going through some stuff. Uh, but I was really happy to be there, and for the cultural learnings as well, and that, and then the other one worked there, and she was pretty much. And again, I just, it was just interesting to think back at what some people said. I'm not saying who, I'm not saying where. So, and again, the only people that would know would be the people that were there. That basically it was. Nice to be able to take some time in the workday to be there. But the other one that essentially said that as well got quite emotional. She'd also been apparently under the weather, but she said, and her heater had kind of been being wonky. But she said, you know what? I thought about it. It's no big deal. I don't know if she just thought of it in that moment. I would think probably not, but it almost sort of seemed like it. She's like, it's no big deal. At least I have a home, and such and such. She was going on with paganism, did mention the sister, talked about the work injury, I can't remember what else. The other one talked a little bit about culture and was a bit more, I can't remember details. And then, yeah, just a lot of thankfulness for the event and for the ability to be there. And some of them, like I say, that it was their work day, but they were able to be there. Um, and then we had a lovely meal, um, and I somehow like the one lady said, "Okay, like I can bring you to where you'd like to perform, or where we're gonna have you perform, and I can help you carry anything." But I mean, I have my guitar and a music stand, um, and I managed to gather my coat, and it was fine. And then my legs are running about to get in the bathroom. And then she was in the washroom really good time. And then I came back and um, found my way to the kitchen and the food. And even though they had tongs and spoons, they were still. I mean, they have a lot of staff and volunteers. It's not well, mostly women they are, but not entirely. You know, I think Caesar and whatever the other guy's name was, who didn't send me the video that he got. But I think maybe he just pretended to get me info because a little bit before we left, he also and there was another uh, draw for like sweaters and shirts or whatever. A little bit before we left, I call or text. He said that he had sent it. I didn't ask really, but he had said again that he sent it. Um, he also said that he sent it not long after I gave it to him. I mean, like almost, you know. And I haven't gotten it. I've also looked in the spam. So I think maybe. Uh, I guess that's good news. It would have been really lovely to have helped out. Um, if it had been any other day, I would have gotten back to you sooner. It's been quite a busy day with some lovely things in it. I'm actually mentioning on YouTube at the moment in the live stream. But yeah, um, and just a moment. I know there was a few of you gonna working towards that goal, but yeah, seems like you just needed the day to get there. Again, if it had been any other day, it probably would have worked out because I would have gotten your message so much quicker. But my device has this on it. I'm worried that if I go out with it, because I'm often bound with health issues, this and that, for the most part, which is another reason why I like to get the opportunity sometimes, but that I might not get back connected to my Wi-Fi. So, but um, so I didn't, and I was distracted anyway. Uh, and a ceremony and a community luncheon, and then the doctors, and then trying to get home with our cabbing system, which felt like our transit system. Anywho, and so yeah, but yeah, I'd love to hear more. Luckily, I do have it in here, I guess, which is good because that second clip didn't seem to send. But anyway, so basically, well, when I think of the numbers, I just said maybe. Um, so I don't have that much more to share necessarily. So I'm going to try and do this and then get on with it. But yeah, like I said, it's a little bit different, but the whole day has been kind of some unique experiences. Like this type of ceremony I was at, and I'm not embarrassed to say it. It's just I don't know. I don't know how specific. I don't know. But basically, the thing is that yeah. So um, after that, and when I went into the area that they were having people eat in and doing music, and to do the music, um, I right away saw somebody that hadn't been in the other area, sitting there eating. I think she'd been there for something else at the office, although it was largely for that day because it's not a huge place. Um, in that, I think there's line up front. Anyway, and um, why it was awkward was basically that it's someone. It doesn't feel like it's this long, but it. I've been out of the neighborhood for 8 or 9 years, and I think Lindsay was after that actually, kind of just as the other one was kind of phasing out. So, and that was 2 years. So that's 8, 9, 10, probably actually like 11 or 12 years. It was an ex girlfriend. Now, I say that loosely, because, um, and it'll make sense hopefully as I explain it. Basically, an apartment building that I had lived in, there was a lady that who sure all that glitters was gold, but I guess they already have skin. I don't know. Actually, the place we were at today, a few months ago, I ran into her in a different neighborhood, but and she'd gotten a new phone. She didn't know her number, and I gave her mine on paper, but paper can go through the machine or get lost easy. But anywho, basically, so I hope she's alright. She kind of had a unique name. Well, it's a short form of a name, but she's older, and I've never been able to kind of find her. I don't know her full name either, so that um, I don't know if she still lives in that building. I don't know if I was to call that building because I seem to remember I got my former friend's suite number once by mentioning because I just said that I didn't live in the building anymore and I wanted to send him something and I didn't remember the suite number. And I was actually, or I don't know if they got back to me. They had to ask him first, possible. So actually, I might try and do that. That might be something to do for sure. Um, but anywho, so basically, this lady had seen me around, the building because I lived there. And one time she said, "Hey, I just thought I'd let you know that there's a girl that has seen you walking around with your guitar and thinks you're cute. Um, if you'd like, I can introduce you guys." That hardly ever happens, but I mean, maybe no. I have enough confidence these days to say I think she was right. Hi, Laura Henderson. How are you? Well, this is very ironic. First of all, first time to the channel? Welcome either way, or how did you come across it? Ironic because I'm thinking about a time in my life when I lived on, and there's a lot of these places in the world. I understood that minor typer. Yeah, there's a lot of these. This could be a lot of places in the world, so it's not being super specific. But I lived on Henderson uh, Street Avenue. I don't remember which one it was. I only lived there, about 8 years. I get no 8 or 9 years. I just called it Highway actually. But again, that may or may not be unique. But anyway, point of the matter being, so it's interesting your last name. And I also knew somebody with that last name. I want to say Brienne or something like that, which is also ironic because I also have had an ex named Bree. This is someone I haven't heard of in ages, and I also used to love the movie Harry and the Hendersons when I was young. So all kinds of nostalgia. Oh, thank you. Just at this, just now you did, or you already were? I definitely have never seen you in the chat before, but I appreciate you coming into the conversation here and saying hi. It's been a little quiet so far. I appreciate if you give a like as well and hit the notification bell. This channel is about wellness, talking about life, and doing music essentially, and kind of randomly. And so basically, Um, I post once or twice a day usually. Every now and then, 3 times, and I think today's the fourth time. But apparently the daily limits are quite high. And I don't know how anybody would do it. But unless they're doing a whole bunch of short ones. But basically, that's what I did earlier. I did 3 short ones. I was out and about, and I actually didn't even really look at what was going. I wasn't looking at the top where the numbers, this and that. None of them really got comments that I noticed last time I looked. Yes, I noticed that too. Thank you. But anyway, basically, so yeah, so there was a cafe that I lived at, and there. What do you play video games? Not very much. Do you? Not very much these days, anyway. I guess a lot of females are into video games, and I like some of the classics, but yeah, not that much. But it's actually kind of ironic because the place I was at today, they have a kind of a co-agency where I almost didn't find out, but happened to randomly find out. One of the last times I've seen her so far, that there's an individual. Sorry, chapstick if you're curious, chapstick if you're not. Yes, right now I am. Right now you're into video games. Obviously not playing them because you're watching this, and I appreciate this. I don't know if I'm curious to know what kind of games you play. I do find some games are not very kosher, and I still don't understand how some people like actually do gaming on this platform. I don't really feel like I need like I something I'm not interested in knowing either. But but yeah. So basically, started to talk with this girl, and every now and then a couple other people would sit with us because I don't know. They'd already. I think they were getting together almost daily at this cafe for coffee. The lady that I was mentioning a little earlier, she was there fairly often, and the girl's mother had passed away about a year ish ago. That's always hard. Um, she was going through some stuff, and she didn't have a lot of family help, and she had a couple family issues, and I guess I understand, but I mean, like, I'll never forget the one time this lady that connected us had said that one of her coworkers' sons had gotten murdered. And basically, um, the girl whose name I maybe won't mention jumped right in. Well, I need to take care of this, and I need to take care of this. Instead of, oh, I'm sorry to hear that first. Like, her social skills weren't great. Um, I used to go to a food bank for a little while, a particular one, and she ironically, just randomly, had moved into my area and also was going there. Um, but it had already been like 7 or 8 years at that point. Um, and, as people are, but I mean, like, I just still don't know. I think I saw her with a cell phone once, but that was the thing. She didn't really use technology very much. And it was kind of like, um, she really didn't seem to remember me. I mean, maybe I look like your average guy with dark hair and a dark beard, you know. And honestly, we really didn't date that long. Like I say, it was just the premise of how we were introduced that made me think that maybe we were going to. But really, I was just more a friend for her, I think, and uh, sorry, I'm holding the other one with this phone, a confidant, so to speak. But she certainly kind of annoyed some of the others sometimes. I mean, like I say, sometimes you have to get things off your chest. It is true. But I guess she sometimes would just make a conversation all about her. And, people don't like that, right? I mean, it's one thing if somebody's hosting a video and somebody just wants to listen, but they're welcome to chat too. And there's one. Is it still you, Laura, here? Anywho, basically, I'd went to her apartment 2 or 3 times. I don't, this is YouTube. I have no filter, but apparently she'd been thinking for a long time, and I'm too blessed. Let's just say that. And I'm not talking myself up or anything either. Anyway, I can't believe I just said it though. But I mean, it's something I remember. And then I moved, and like I say, she didn't really. Are you still there, Laura, or is it somebody else watching at the top right now? She didn't really, like I say, use social media. Uh, I may have had a cell phone for her, and I'm not the type of person. If when something's awkward, it can make sense to maybe be a bit avoidant. Um, but I'm more the type of person that eventually, probably before very long, would want to at least try and address it. If it doesn't work, then I say, okay, it didn't work. But um, it's just, I guess I found her to be kind of toxic. So I kind of lost touch with her for years. And basically, and today, she seemed like she was in a good mood at first, but really she's going through a lot of stuff with her building. She wants to move to a different neighborhood. I don't know the details, but actually a lot of it sounded like some of the stuff she used to go on about. And I mean, it was certainly not all that pleasant for me and my spouse to have to listen to. There was a few other staff people that were trying to be supportive of her. One person tried to tell her, you can't look to the external, it all has to, be from within, and she felt like the actions that she was doing were from within and nothing was really working. And I actually kind of understood those points from her. But I was sitting behind her. She wasn't really facing me. There was one person that was offering some suggestions to her. I kind of said a couple things to that. She still never, I don't, I'm almost wondering if maybe she did recognize me, and but some people might say maybe she just felt it was too awkward to say anything to you. Um, but I'm pretty good, get a pretty good sense of people's personalities and characters and this and that. And I think if she had remembered me, she would have said, "Hey, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while, hey?" And um, I really feel like she would start a conversation because she's pretty chatty. um, anyway, so I've got to think that she really just didn't remember me. So I guess, and kind of thinking back to that hamper thing I used to go to, it was the same case there, and I hadn't thought of that in the moment today. So, anytime I run into her in the future, I guess I can say, oh, I don't have to be, too worried about it being awkward. Laura, are you still there? Or who is here? Feel free to comment. Would love to hear from you. Anyway, so then we ate a little bit, we played the songs, posted, and then um, we went and finished our food. It was some of it wasn't that warm to begin with. I think the volunteers kind of got it all set up, and things maybe ran a little bit behind in the other thing that we were doing, and so. But you know what? It wasn't. It still was pretty good. They had to be careful with people's allergies and preferences. But there was really quite a nice assortment, including some fancy cheeses and crackers. Um, there was meatballs, there was potatoes, there was carrots, there was stuffing, there was, and we got to come home with a lot. Oh, there was a salad, some cookies, including these days, even though I like my coffee sweet, I'm not as much for like really sweet stuff. My teeth struggle with it too, as far as food and that. But people, sure, of course. But I guess I just don't often have my stories. And I came home and I felt relaxed. Even though there'd been some stuff since the ceremony, like I say, which was very soothing. But then when I slowed down to try and nap, I was flooded with all this stuff coming to me. And I thought, come here and talk about my day. So basically, but I will have to plug this in soon. And then I should get on with the evening routine and then bed. But basically, so yeah, had a nice meal. Stayed in chat a little bit, but honestly, this girl was making it a bit awkward. And there was actually almost a bit of a fight that transpired because of that. I think that other guy, she could have gotten very mad at him, but or at least an argument. But it Yeah, it was fine. And then after that, we had a bit of time. We thought we were ahead of schedule, but we had a bit of time before G's appointment. And we were standing outside chatting. It wasn't too bad at the time, and we were kind of covered, an awning or whatever. And we saw something that kind of bothered us, to be honest. There was a woman who I didn't get a good look at her when she was outside. She wasn't really facing us, and then she kept walking. Um, but she had one of the cardboard plates. They were actually giving takeout containers. Somebody must have bought some, and they were, they don't close real well, so I didn't want to reopen them, like I say. But they were actually giving like things by like the square shape container loads to people. I said at one point, have the volunteers and the staff had anything? Oh yeah, we're good, you know. Um, and like I have 2 or 3 days worth of food now for both of us, I think. And one of the other ladies who didn't know that we already had stuff, and even when she did, she almost still saying, "Are you sure?" Like she had a whole bag of these containers. But anyway, this lady, um, she had this plate of food. She walked out with it. She tossed it to the ground. She kicked it. And, at first it annoyed me. It was like, how ungrateful. And then I thought, okay, well, she's feeding anybody who's homeless and desperate, and there are some that kind of hang around that area, um, uh, might eat it off the floor. G said, I feel like I should clean it up. I said, well, we could hope that she might come and do it. And he said, but that might be hoping a bit much, kind of thing. And so he did kind of a little bit. And, some of the staff might have came out later and saw that out there. And there was also, it looked like somebody, either her or somebody else had done it before too, because a little further down, actually, I thought it was butte, but it was like noodles or whatever. Anyway, and think, but most of us were very, very appreciative. And if I had to guess why somebody would do that, if I had to guess, impulse, first of all. Second of all, maybe they thought, okay, well, this was nice, but I have no family to be with. I have no one to be with at Christmas. I didn't hear what she said, but it could have been something like that, even if it was just in your head. I mean, there were certainly some loud people, possibly drunk, in that went past at one point. It's a plaza. It's mixed. It's whatever. Anyway, but and to anybody that relates to that, I want to suggest that you can get something nice for yourself, make something nice for yourself, food and or otherwise, um, and you very likely deserve it. So I hope that you do that, and I hope you do it often, really. But I also hope that you do it over the holidays. Um, I hope that you realize that there are people out there, even if they don't know you very well or at all, that care. Um, Sure, we will feel lonely sometimes. Sure, we will feel struggles sometimes. But if you um, if you put yourself out there, whether it's uh, live streaming, whether it's connecting to an agency or a social group, um, and actually, I found out that this one group that this place does may not be 50 plus. Um, Although I had heard at one point that they were, but the co-agency wasn't. And then when I called them, they said, well, sometimes in the fall we open it up a little bit or something like that. And this lady, who seemed like she'd been there for a while, hadn't heard that, but she was suggesting this to that other girl. But so even if they've opened it up, um, and even the things I said, I don't know if I'd go to it. But point of the matter being is that yes, do do nice stuff for yourself. Also, if you can, do nice stuff for others. That feels good too, for the other person and for you. I had a gift card I wanted to give to somebody. Like I say, the plaza we were at sometimes has a bit of a homeless community, and there's also another location not far away. Not solely, but a little bit. And I was wanting to maybe give this, and I thought, well, we had we had to wait for our cab for a long time. We had time. I just wasn't really seeing many people outside. They were going into places or going to cars. Yeah. So, but that means I now, on a mild winter day, I can go have something to do and do that because sometimes that's the struggle. Um, Anywho, okay, so that was interesting. And unless it's inaccurate and the person is still here, someone was here for almost that whole time. I mean, I understand. It's not like I'm thinking, oh, what I want to talk about. I'm waiting, hoping somebody says something, do music, multitasking, whatever. I mean, I am. I'm always keeping the momentum going, as you can see. But because it was an active day and there's things to say, I'm keeping it going more. I might do one more tonight because I do have to plug this in and get on with the evening routine. And there might be more to say, but I'm not really sure that there is, to be honest. I'm not really sure that there is until maybe you comment. Um, but yeah, basically, yeah, because then he went we almost had somebody in the neighborhood help us out. And then and we were going to use have three chairs because everybody else was in the other waiting room. It was just a small one there, and boots and boots. No, yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to say. I wasn't really sure how to do it, but basically, you can advertise for someone not do a certain thing, and um, but still have the feelings, and things can work out. Either that, or today was just a especially good day, and we can all have those, even if we feel like we mostly don't. Uh, Anywho, and like I say, usually it's just decent for us, but I mean, hey, could be worse, right? Anyway, so basically, I got to get plugged in soon and that, and get on with things. But basically, is there anything else to say? So we went, did that, and then I feel like oh right, a bit of yeah. Well, but that worked out with the personal, and then that other thing, which was kind of weird. But and he was coming out right as the cab sale passed. Anyway, coming out of the place, and then we had another girl walk up to us and said, "Can we? I know this is an odd question, but can I use Messenger? I'm trying to contact my mother because give me a card or whatever, get booze, and the card didn't work or whatever, and I don't really want to walk all the way back there." I mean, it kind of did make sense. It did seem a little, and she knew it. She knew it when she asked it. But, things happen, right? Anyway, and she didn't remember her phone number, and I guess she didn't have a phone herself. She said, "You can watch me do it." But we actually, come to think of it, we got okay vibes from her, though. Could have been someone run off with her phone. So, but anyway, but yeah. So anyway, basically, it's just been a very accidentally hit something on the screen there. It's been a very lovely day, and I mostly feel pretty relaxed. And when we had to sit for a moment, holding, I think it was Raggle, we had to sit for a moment and just think about the things that we're going through, the struggles, the things that we're thankful for. I said to someone afterwards, it's like, even when I had thoughts, and she kind of agreed with this, um, I felt very relaxed in a way that it was almost like a meditation, in a way that I kind of feel like I don't often. It looks like we're going to have a family get together planned with its homeless most of her life, not currently, niece who has some difficulties, can be hard to be around. He knows that, but she's very very nice. And even though she didn't know some messages, and I was kind of surprised. And if she asks about the thing, I'll say, "No worries, no worries, all good." And I don't know about the all good, but the other place, she said she'll think about it because it was a good suggestion, the buffet. But she said you can always have leftovers because she says, but then she said she's not a big eater, so she says that maybe it's just her that thinks that the portions are really huge. Essentially, I think so. We'll see, and we'll figure it out. And right as it sounded like she wanted to talk a bit more, but I mean, she did lose her sister recently. But the doctor called him up and that, and figuring out the other thing. And yeah, it's things are starting to come together, and my worries of am I going to get a chance to or music because that really mattered to me, and that I didn't really need to to think too much into. When I asked, there wasn't really that many people in the room yet. They started a bit late, and everybody kind of came late. So I thought that maybe if other people say, "Oh, that'd be nice," well, that'd be cool. There was just the one other guy, and he didn't really say much. Um, that I can recall anyway. That there was just that one. So, but it worked out. So I hope you find the good things about your day. If you need to talk, we're here for you. And yeah, okay, I'm gonna wrap this up now. I was just gonna if it to me, but Bob was telling me to. I want to get that math, and then have dinner. And this is at 15%. So, but yeah, you know, that's. I think some of the messages there is kind of. Oh, there was something else I was going to say. Oh yeah, I just really felt like my angels had really made it happen as perfectly as it did. I mean, could have anyway. And I also want to say that I think that it's really a comforting thought. I would hate to think that just because they passed away, that our loved ones no longer exist and we could never see them again. I think most of us would hate to think that, really. Some of us, for for reasons, experiences, can feel with a bit more certainty that that life goes on a different way. Um, some not as much so feel it. But, and when you do feel it, it's kind of like, okay, well, sign me up. I'd like to go, especially around this time of holidays. But even though we're this far in and there's nobody currently watching, I'm glad I remembered this because it was something else I wanted to say. Very likely, most likely, you are still meant to be here for reasons. And if you feel like you need help figuring out what those reasons are, we can talk about it. I would love to go on that journey with you. Um, um, yeah, so uh, like I say, I just felt like all the food, just a great experience. It was the only thing that would have made it better is, and I don't know where I get the idea singing if you were singing and recorded because I haven't got the video yet. But the only thing that would have made it better if my friend who had kind of helped me discover this place had still been alive and had sang with us. She had a beautiful voice, beautiful person inside and out. Um, Anybody who is experiencing, we're at 7%, you know, not having a loved one for the first time this year, again, try and do those extra nice things for yourself. Try and find things to appreciate and also find ways to incorporate them in their memory and know I would hope that you would feel that they'd be there in spirit. Gotta go.